What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Understable Discourse in this week's edition of The Chain Reaction. I have a very special episode for you today as we discuss you and your topics that you've provided for me. We're going to be diving into things like baskets, rating caps, tour stops, disc golf goats, and a lot of other things. So let's get into it. All right, so to provide some clarity here, a few days ago, I made a post on our short form content asking viewers to submit questions for me about disc golf, topics to discuss, opinions to take a side on, and that's what we're going to be doing today. So I took the 7 comments from the different platforms, and we're going to dive into them in more of a deep level. And if you're hearing me say this and you're like, whoa, why didn't I know about this? Why didn't I get a chance to put a comment in? That's because you're not watching our short form content. You can find that being posted every single day over on places like Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, Facebook, and even TikTok. And the cool part about these daily shorts is that we're not beholden to a weekly upload schedule that has to go up on this day, so we're going to sit on news until this day. Nope, you get it every single day, no matter what, right around 6 o'clock-ish. So you make sure you want to go over and check that out. You're missing out on a great chance to know what's going on before a lot of other places are going to tell you, and coming at you pretty quick. So let's dive into our questions, shall we? The first 2 questions that I got for this were not really questions about the Pro Tour, which I think is fantastic. It means that we're engaging with people on disc golf in general. And so I really wanted to highlight these. I'm going to put them at the top of the episode, and the questions get a little bit deeper the more we go in, with a massive, gigantic question at the end, thanks to my friend Corey, where we're going to look at the Pro Tour stops and talk a lot about them. So, but right off the rip, let's talk about the very first question that I got, because I love these types of questions, and I'm going to say that before I talk about like disc golf in general, I am not an expert. I am certainly not a pro. I've only been playing disc golf for, a decent amount of time, but I have coached sports before. I have an extensive experience in coaching high school boys basketball, so I know a thing or two when it comes to like talking about consistency training, all that kind of stuff, although just not at a disc golf level. But we'll dive into it anyway, and you let me know what you think. So our first question is something that I think so many people have asked themselves, and this question comes from Logan, and he says, I want to know how to be more consistent in disc golf. I feel like my game is pretty decent overall, but my consistency is off. So that's a great question. I think at some point most of us have asked ourselves that. And when it comes to things like consistency, I believe it is so important to ask a few clarifying personal questions. The first one is, what is your ultimate goal when it comes to disc golf? Like, are you trying to become a professional disc golfer? Because if you are, that requires a level of consistency that's on just an absolutely much higher plane of existence than anyone else. Are you just trying to be better at your local level and be competitive? Because that's a different level of consistency. Or are you just trying to have fun and want to play better rounds? Because that's also different. The level of consistency required for, I want to enjoy playing disc golf with my friends and I want to be on the Pro Tour, they're worlds apart. So knowing kind of what your goal is, that's important. Secondly, what does consistency even mean to you? For some people, consistency might mean that you play a course 10 times and you get around the same score. That's extremely consistent. For other people, it might mean being very accurate off the tee for 18 of your tee shots as opposed to just 15, where you kind of let a few tee shots here or there during the round get a little away from you. Or for some people, consistency may mean that you never let your putt get away from you in the middle of the round. So when you say you want to be more consistent, what does that mean? What does consistency look like to you? So now, once we've established what your ultimate goal is and what consistency looks like, I think we can start to put that stuff into practice. And the next thing I'm going to have to ask you is for honesty, right? This is the question that we all need to ask. I've been here myself before, and that's, what is really keeping you, in your opinion, from being consistent? Is it that you want to be a better putter, but you never go and put practice in on the putting green? Are you not prepared for the physical aspect of disc golf? So you're doing things like you're not hydrating well enough, and like that's causing inconsistency in your play because you're not preparing your body for disc golf. Maybe you're putting an unnecessary amount of pressure on yourself when you're on the course, or maybe it's the opposite and you just don't care enough when you're playing the rounds, so you make silly mistakes because you're not locking in when you're supposed to. So I think you have to be, number one, identify what it is your overall goal is. Number two, what does consistency mean to you? And number three, be honest about yourself. What do you think is keeping you from being consistent? And to me, if you can tackle all these things and put in the work, you'll get to where you want to be, because output is very often correlated to input. So if you're trying to be a better putter or thrower, you have to go do it. You can't sit around watching other people putt or throw and then expect to be good at it. You know, if you want to be a pro, you've got to do it a lot. But see, if you want to just play better, spend more time warming up and play some extra casual rounds where you take multiple shots and work on your game as you go. So just what you do is you take your overall goal of your consistency that you want to have and apply it to your long-term goal of I want to be a pro, or I just want to play better locally or with myself in casual rounds. Because if you're not looking to become a pro, I'm not telling you to go out 5 hours a week, putt. But if you're going to be a pro, you might have to do that. But if you're just trying to have fun with your friends or be good at casual rounds or compete better at your local C tier, you know, maybe some more targeted practice rounds with a little bit of field work here or there can get you where you want to be. Now, if the problem is improving your mental when it comes to being under pressure, I think you have to find ways to practice being under pressure. Unfortunately, I don't know that there are a lot of ways to get better at being under pressure than experience being under pressure. And you can do some stuff to train yourself by like going to local leagues. You can find a course where you can challenge yourself to create artificial pressure. A great example of this is for content on my other channel, Thumber Life. Go follow it. It's awesome. We can do a lot of goofy stuff. I found this little 9-hole kind of pitch putt course, and I decided that I wanted to film myself trying to shoot 9 under par with no mulligans on this 9-hole course. And it definitely had that competitive like set of juices flowing in me, because 4 or 5 holes in, I started to feel that pressure of you cannot mess this streak up. It's an easy course. So while I'm not advocating you go put yourself in a bunch of stressful situations, a great way to practice stress management is to kind of create some manufactured artificial stress situations and see how you adapt in those situations. And I think one other thing you could do is you could schedule time with a local pro to, you know, work on aspects of your game. Or here's a really fun thing that I've heard of people doing. You identify a local pro or a player that you kind of aspire to play like them, or you really respect the way they play the game, and ask them if they'd be willing to come out and caddy for you for a round or for a tournament. And I'm willing to bet you after that event's over that they can share some pretty decent insights as to how you approach the game and different kind of decisions they saw you make from that outside observer's perspective. So that's a very long-winded way of saying, what is your goal? What is consistency to you? What do you think is hindering you? And then just kind of modulating what it is that you have to do to get more consistent. If you want to be a pro, you're gonna have to put in a lot more work. If you want to just have fun locally, find ways to get yourself extra practice here or there. I hope that's helpful, and honestly, Logan, that was a great question, and I'm super happy you asked it. Moving on to the second question coming in from Andrew. I'd want to know your opinion on whether playing in tournaments as a newer player is helpful to the development of your game. And this is a really solid question, because playing in tournaments is kind of a big decision for a newer player. I think once again you have to ask yourself, what is the thing that you're trying to do in disc golf? Are you looking to have a really sick, awesome rating? Which I would argue you probably should try to not care so much about your rating. But do you want to play well and just have a good time? Or are you just trying to aspire to get to that pro level? Tournaments, I think, serve a fantastic purpose of bringing people together to enjoy disc golf. You know, whether it's a club event or a big event, getting people together to enjoy disc golf is a fabulous thing. And they're great for testing your overall progress to see where you kind of compare to your peers. And they could be stressful for a lot of newer players. So my typical advice to most people would be that if you want to enjoy the social aspect of the sport and challenge yourself a little bit, tournament is a great place to go do that. Don't put too much pressure on yourself about the outcome. Go have a good time, try to play as best you possibly can, and see where you're at. If you're new to it, just don't take it too seriously. That's a really, really big thing. And in time, you're going to see change, and you'll know if tournaments are kind of your thing or not. If you're the kind of person who's looking to get or protect a rating, or you want to feel like you can really compete at an event before you sign up, go look at scores that have been put down at events at that course in the past. Compare it to where you are when you play casual rounds there, and if you're really close, go compete. If you're really far off, go put some work in, go grind, figure it out, and get there. But ultimately, it just, I think, comes down to the fact that everyone is very, very different in what they're looking to do, and we all have different goals. So I would recommend leagues and tournaments to those who want to test their development, see where they're at, put themselves in position to have to play with better players. Those are great places to do that. And you can use them as blueprints for how to improve in the future based on your results of that actual tournament itself, and then go back to that tournament in the future and see how you've improved. So honestly, I think tournaments are a great thing. Do I recommend diving head first into them right away as a new player? Probably not. Find a tournament or an event or a league at the course that you are the most comfortable at and start with that. Or play an event with the people who you really, really enjoy playing with. That's a great place to start, personally. Can you also be a great player and never play an event or a tournament? Absolutely you can. But tournaments are the best place to see how well you've improved and compared to your peers. All right, now we're going to move a bit into actual professional disc golf. But I don't want to discount how awesome those first two questions were. So thank you for submitting those. I really, really enjoyed kind of thinking about them and processing them in my own way and then answering them. But our first professional disc golf question comes from Disc Golf and Millennial, who says basically, name your disc golf GOAT. All right, if you don't know what GOAT means, it means greatest of all time. And to me, there are a lot of very opinionated answers to this question that could go one way or another. And I'm going to preface that this is my opinion. This is not an outright fact. There's no one exact perfect answer here. This is my opinion. And for some people, when it comes to the GOAT conversation, accolades are the only thing that matters. To me, I also look at impact as well. That's my personal opinion when I think about GOATs. So, that being said, to me, there are only 3 names that belong in the GOAT conversation. And the first may make some people a little frustrated, and that's Gannon Buhr. I think Gannon is arguably the greatest talent we've ever seen pick up a disc. He is competing in the most talented field we've ever had, showcasing his dominance across the board, and he's not even on the other side of his physical prime yet, which is wild to think about. The argument against Gannon being the GOAT, in my mind, is that he just hasn't been around long enough yet, and I just want to see him play more before I can definitively say he's the greatest of all time. But he is definitely a candidate right now to someday be known as the greatest player to ever do it. Next for me is Ken Climo. He's the only candidate for me that is, essentially retired of the 3 that I'm going to bring up, minus a few local events. Kenny the Champ, he has the records. He has the accolades. Technically the most winningest when it comes to things like majors. And I think he brought a very early legitimacy to the sport when a lot of guys and gals still had to go to work every day to support themselves to play disc golf on the weekends. I think he had a rippling effect to all those that were around him, and he's always going to go down for me as the Bill Russell of disc golf. That is the guy who has the most rings, an icon until the end of time for disc golf, but essentially is plagued by the fact that the era that he competed in and the competition were probably one of the weaker compared to the modern day era. Although basketball is a little bit different. Bill Russell did have to compete hard against players, but the game is definitely different. But disc golf is way more talented overall now than it was back when Kenny played. However, his ability to, at the time he played, stand head and shoulders above everybody else is truly dominant. So Ken Climo, if the GOAT has to be someone who's retired, it's Ken Climo. But if we're opening that up to players who could still be playing, who kind of checked all the boxes, for me, it's going to be Paul McBeth. And yeah, he's still playing technically. He is definitely on the down, like the last X number of years of his career though. I don't think anyone has brought legitimacy to our sport like Paul McBeth has. Not a single person has come close, and no one has captured more attention than Paul has. An entire generation of players behind him modeled their game after his exact style and form. After literally recreated his bag, to do everything they could to be like Paul McBeth. The effect he's had on people in disc golf is overwhelming. He also set standards in our sport for what contracts could be like. For a long time it was like, oh, no one makes any money in disc golf. Now when someone's like, well, no one makes money in disc golf, you can say, well, hey, we got a guy 10 years, 10 mil. That brings an absolute level of legitimacy in the conversation for contracts and everything like that. And also, he has plenty of titles and accolades to be counted in the conversation. He's very close to being at that same level, or maybe even above, in the all-time accolade conversation. And he's also creating an beyond incredible impact in international disc golf that nobody has ever done before. What he's doing with the Paul McBeth Foundation around the world, insanity. Does that have anything to do with his play as a player? No. But he would not be able to do the things that he's doing if it wasn't for how well he played. And that's the argument that I'm always going to have. So when you combine his accolades and the impact he's had on the sport, it's Paul McBeth. Is he the most talented player ever? No. Is he the most decorated player ever? Technically, no. But will the sport ever be what it is now without what he's done for the game? Not a chance. Moving on to our next question, coming from my boy Ben, local awesome pro who's killing it. He wants to know, what do I think about the minimum rating to play on tour being set to 950? Do I think it will be 1,000 in the next couple of years? And this is an interesting question that has a little bit of nuance behind the answer, in my opinion. For those who didn't know, the rating requirements to play on the tour in 2025 was 935 for the MPO field. And that's being moved to 950 for MPO and 850 for the FPO. So you've got to be those ratings to play. And on the surface, this change is being made to help keep, the fields full of the best possible players. It helps with overall things like pace of play, and you never want a top tier player, or at least a non-tour card holding top tier player, to not be able to play the event because somebody 940 rated has that spot. You could argue that, if they deserve every right to be there as well. I think if we want this sport to be the best it possibly can be, we have to raise the rating minimum. So I think overall it's a good idea. Do I think this is ever going to get to 1,000? Not for a very, very long time. And that's for a few reasons. And it's because I think the other side of the sport, is that events have to be filled up. The only thing more important in competition for the DGPT is the prize purse. You need the prize purse to be huge. And if they restrict too many people from playing, they're not going to be able to fill the events up. So they won't get the guaranteed full prize purses for the pro fields themselves. And if you look back at 2025, there were very few, if any, players below 950 in actual events. So minuscule, it's not even worth counting. I think someone looked up the number one time. It was like less than 50 across the entire season. It was very, very small. Also, as of right now, according to the PDGA, there are only 520 MPO players in the world with ratings over 1,000. So that's still not enough yet, I think, to restrict anything close to 1,000. Ultimately, I think the change is a good thing that they did. They brought it up to 950, but I think it's going to have minimal desired impact because it affects a very small number of people. I could see over time that minimum increasing to like a 975, 980, but that would be like the maximum threshold because the sport just hasn't grown enough yet to have enough 1,000 rated players, especially when they really, really desperately hope to keep the prize pools as high as they do. So I hope that makes sense. Next question here from Zach. What do I think about the design of the hole in the background? So what that means is if you look at the original posting for the reel that asked the question here to let people know to ask questions, I use the green for hole 10 at Monte Maria in the background of that video. And Zach is asking, what do I think about the design of the hole? And it's a pretty straightforward par 3. It's actually a pretty straight shot. I found the tee sign and the instructions for the hole. And as you can see, both of the fountains shown in the picture here are played as OB. Do I like that for casual rounds to add some spice? Yeah, I do. 100% I do. I think it's a little bit goofy, and it's totally fine. It makes you have to think about where you land your disc at. Would I make them OB if I were like being a tournament director there? No, I absolutely wouldn't. I would mark them as mandatory relief areas to keep people out of the fountain, and that's what it would be. So casual, fun tournament. I don't think I would do it. I don't think I would do OB there. But still, when you look at the history of the course, really cool hole, really cool course, and neat design. Our next question is a loaded one, and it comes from Dan. Dan, thank you for this wild question here. He says, I think we can all agree having one brand or design of basket for the Pro Tour would be ideal. If you could choose only 3, which ones would you like to see on tour? Are you pro nubs or not? And would you choose the best ones that catch or the ones that need more precision? Boy, oh boy. I have never thought that hard about baskets. Ever. But this definitely had me thinking about baskets a lot. And there's only one basket I think I've ever really thought about, and I'll address that basket here in a minute. But I would also challenge the perspective that you put in here that we all think one brand or one design would be ideal. Because my first issue there would be, how would they even pick a brand in any kind of objective way for all the manufacturers? That's tough. Number 2, I think too many pros have wildly different opinions on the basket, so there is no one that like most people would agree is the best or is not the best, at least right now. And not, it doesn't have enough time on like courses to be tested to know for sure. And I think part of me, and part of for some people's opinions, is that they enjoy the idea that part of preparation for an event is knowing what kind of baskets you're putting on and having to kind of modulate your putt in a way to accommodate that basket style. Because to me, the only standard that I want are things like size, height, and materials used. Make those fair across the board. But you asked me to pick 3 baskets, and I did. The only basket I've ever looked at in my life and said, that is a cool basket, it seems to catch really well, love it, is the RPM Helix basket. So after watching a number of events with these, they feel like really fair baskets. They catch in all kinds of places. They seem to spit out when they should spit out. And if you're not familiar with these baskets, you should be watching the Tour Down Under on the Go Throw channel, because this is where a lot of the RPM baskets are being used. So I think the RPM Helix is my favorite basket by just design, looks, aesthetics. Love it, want more of it. The second basket I'd have to say is probably the Titan 35. This is the crazy amalgamation that we saw released at the event at Eagles Crossing. This is where the big debate of nubs versus no nubs got super strengthened. The chain configuration is probably the greatest we've ever seen on a basket. Hands down. Different types of chains, putting areas to catch, to grab, all this kind of stuff. And also the lack of nubs, I think, is kind of fun, that it makes low putts less likely to stick. So, you don't get the lucky stick from the nub. And I think it's just a beautiful basket overall. Lastly, and this might be a bit of a divisive pick because some people don't like these very much, I'm a big Mach X guy. I like Mach X's. I think, even though it's not everyone's favorite, I've played a lot of courses where Mach X's have been on them. I think I enjoy putting on them, so they make the list just from the sheer fact that I enjoy that basket. So there you go. My 3 would be the RPM Helix, the Titan 35, and the Mach X. As for the nubs versus no nubs debate, I don't have any kind of strong opinion. I need to see more nubless baskets being used in play before I can really form that opinion. I like the fact that low putts aren't rewarded by nubs, on a basket that doesn't have them. But hey, what do you guys think? If you're still here and you're still listening, are you team nubs or are you on team nubless? Let me know in the comments down below. For your final question, though, about baskets, best catchers versus more precision. To me, I lean towards wanting baskets that are the best catchers, and I want to make putting hard not because the basket requires more precision, but because the green complex is constructed in a way to make putting more difficult. Because we changed the rules about C1 and C2 in step putting. Like, I want everything to be very consistent with the basket, so that way it'll be easier to tweak all the things around it to make meaningful adjustments for the putting process in events, if that makes sense. All right, folks, we're here at the final one. This isn't really much of a question. This is more of an opinion that I've been asked to provide, and that is my friend Corey. Corey. He wants to know, I would like you to rank the Pro Tour courses from your least favorite to your favorite from this past season. Well, you got it, sweet cheeks. A couple clarifications before I get into this, because I have to. Number one, there are 31 of these courses. I'm going to try not to linger on any course for too long of time, because we'll be here all day if we do, because I can sometimes wax eloquent. Number two, I'm not counting any course that wasn't played by both MPO and FPO, so you're not going to see courses like Sunset Hills or the USWDGC courses here. Next up, I'm only sticking to things in 2025, so even though This Side of Heaven or Champions Landing are coming back to the tour, not talking about those. And then I asked Corey to clarify quickly what kind of ranking he wants. He just wants it to be a personal ranking. My favorite places to watch, which is awesome, because like this, you're going to hear this, you're going to be like, it's not the best course. I'm not ranking it by the best one for the tour, the best one for the players, the hardest, or some other metric. This is strictly my favorite courses to watch. As someone who watches everything in disc golf, I watch the live coverage, the post-produced, all the stuff. More times than I probably need to. These are objectively my least favorite to favorite course to watch. So here we go. I'm gonna pull this list up just so I can rock through it super quick for you guys. So coming in dead last is Mill Ridge Park. Right? When I say Mill Ridge Park, most of you probably don't know what event that was. Testament to why it's not as fun to watch, in my opinion. That's the course for Music City Open. I don't know what it is about this event. If I look back over the last 3 years and I picked out all the events that I just conveniently didn't watch the live for and just went and saw the recaps for, it's the Music City Open. I don't know why. Maybe it's the time of the year, but I just don't like watching this course. I don't think it's very dynamic. The changes they make don't seem to really capture or enthrall me. I am not a humongous fan of Mill Ridge Park. Sorry. I'm sure it's a great course in its own right. And also I want to clarify that just because it's my least favorite to watch doesn't mean I wouldn't want to play it. I want to play all the courses on this list. And I have played a number of them, but I want to play them all. So number 30 is going to be, and I need to look at this to make sure I pronounce it right, Lua Lavori, which is the Turku Open course. Once again, it kind of felt like the European Music City. I wasn't super impressed overall. And when you compare it to all the other European courses, I think it's like the least beautiful of them all, even though it's a highly ranked course. I wasn't a huge fan of watching it. Sorry. Next up for me is going to be the Talon Song Festival grounds for the European Disc Golf Festival. I mean, we kind of went through this ad nauseum when we were talking about the European Disc Golf Festival. It's just not an overall thrilling course to watch. It feels like, of all the courses on tour, it feels like the one that I could probably play the best at, because just how easy it felt. I just at no point felt like there was anything that provided real scoring separation other than a couple tunnel holes that, you know, felt a little fluky at times, even though it did take a lot of skill to go down them. It just wasn't as enjoyable to watch. The event itself was enjoyable, but watching the course was certainly not. Next up for me is Black Bear. That's the preserve course. I don't know. It just feels like, you know, for a lot of these courses here at the bottom, I could walk out of the room, come back, and still not tell you what hole was on, what hole they were on, or what really happened. It's just not a very memorable course. There are a few holes over at Black Bear that I think are really cool. I'm hoping that the doubles event really increases my desire to watch this one this year. Next up, could be divisive, that's Brewster Ridge out of GMC. I think this is the lesser of the two courses. It's a bit more forgettable in the lines. I think a lot of these holes kind of blend together in their design where you're not really sure where in the course you're at. They have a couple iconic holes, but Brewster Ridge just doesn't do it for me of the two over at GMC. Next up, similar vibes, that's Milo McIver. I understand it is one of the most historical courses out there, and it's a very divided opinion, of course, where some pros love it, other pros really don't like it. I don't like watching it. I get the history and the holes that have names, and I think it's awesome, and I'd love to play it. It just isn't as entertaining of a viewing experience for me as it is for other people. Next on the list is Sprinkle Valley, and I'll tell you something, I'm one of the few people who really enjoyed Hole 18. I don't think Hole 18 is as problematic as they make it seem. I think that we had a lot of players who just didn't understand how to play it, especially over on the FPO side. And maybe some micro adjustments could make the hole better, but if it wasn't for Hole 18, this actually would be lower on the list. So Hole 18 made me want to watch it a little bit more, but it's still pretty low. I don't know that the course felt the same a lot, like over and over and over and over and over again. I did like the terrain though. The terrain was better than some of the courses. It gave us some differing things to look at. And next up after that, not far away, is Harvey Penick. Harvey Penick. So both the Open and Austin courses are right here at 25 and 24. Not super enthralled by either one of them, but both solid courses in their own right for the people who built them. I don't have anything against them. I just don't think they're as exciting to watch. Next up is going to be a new one, or newish one, Shelton Springs. This is home of the Cascade Challenge, which I think was a bit of a flop this year. It's being bumped down to, I believe, it's being bumped off the tour as an actual tour stop. I think it's going to become a Jomez. I can't remember, but it's not on the main tour anymore. A lot of players didn't like the course. It felt like it wasn't ready yet for this level of an event. It needed cleaned up. I did like the island in the woods setup, and a couple of the holes were really nice, but the course itself just didn't do it for me. After that one, we're going to go to Swenson Park, home of the Champs Cup, or OTB Open. I don't know, just bland. Feels kind of bland. The change for Hole 18 this year was brilliant. I loved that. There were a couple other holes that are really, really awesome to watch, but overall, it just feels like a very bland course to me. Next up is Toboggan. I know I'm going to get some hate for that one, but Toboggan, maybe it's because I've been watching it for so long, it just doesn't catch my attention the way it used to anymore. I'm hoping that Worlds really drastically changes that for me, but it just feels like, here we go at Toboggan again. Not super duper crazy exciting. There's a couple holes that are really awesome, but I'm not a huge fan of the finishing stretch at Toboggan. It's just my opinion. Now the next course, and let me just clarify here, we're getting into courses here that are still, they're enjoyable in some degree to watch. The next course is what I think does elevation better than Toboggan, and that's the Konopishte Castle Park. I really enjoyed the ups and downs in this course, the way they use elevation to challenge players. It just wasn't a very clean course. It could have been, I think, a bit more pristine. It's what other courses aspire to be. Really cool course, though. Really, really neat. It was enjoyable to watch players play it, but not as much as the courses above. Next up is going to be, yep, we're doing it. It's going to be Brazos East, Waco. It's so different from all the other courses. I just enjoy watching it every year. Sue me if you don't agree with it. Coming up after Brazos Park East is Nokia Disc Golf Park, which is the other beast. I actually didn't try to do that. The two beasts back to back. I think most of this course is very forgettable. It does have, in my opinion, one of the greatest closing stretches in disc golf of 15, 16, 17, and 18, with 15 being the incredibly difficult downhill kind of par 3 that forces a choice of laying up or going for it. 16, tin cup scenario. 17, very tough with the angle of the green, and 18, so many dramatic things have come down to hole 18 on that course. So I love the finishing stretch, but the first 14 holes, I don't know, I'm not a fan of. Moving up to, as we tip into the top, we're getting to the top half of the list, that's Idlewild. I enjoy this course because anyone can win. Any pro can win Idlewild, in my personal opinion, so Idlewild takes the 17 spot. Coming up at 16, I've got Eureka Lake. I've played this course numerous times. I enjoy watching the course. It does feel a bit gimmicky at times. It just, I would say this year I enjoyed watching it a lot more than the previous year, because this year we only watched it for 2 rounds, not for 4 consecutive rounds. So sometimes you'll watch them play it, you'll be like, man, this is awesome, I love this. And other times you'll watch it and go, but I've played it. It's a lot of fun. Enjoy that course a lot. Next up is Ivy Hill. I think of all the ball golf style courses, there's really only one that does it better than Ivy Hill. It's very enjoyable to watch. I played it this year. It gives you more context once you've played one of these courses, and that might give some of the courses here an unnecessary edge, I suppose. But that's why it's personal list. So Ivy Hill coming in at 15. At number 14, we have Olympus. I really, really love the start of the season, Supreme Flight Open. I think it's a great course to start out at. I'd love to see the course. It feels like, and this is just me, I know maybe this is a personal thing for me, it just feels like it's never as clean as it could be. Like there's always a couple holes where it's like, doesn't feel as manicured as the rest of like the Pro Tour or some of the top level Pro Tour courses, but I enjoy the course. I really want to play it. Sounds like it's a very, very hard course. I know I'm probably going to get a ping from JT who's going to be like, Gary, it's a super clean course. Come out, face me. Hi, JT. Thanks for your comment. Next up is Winthrop at 13. USDGC, we see it every year. Everyone talks about how it's a great course. I enjoy it. It's a fun course to watch. So many iconic holes. It's always a good time. At 12 is going to be Pickard Park, which is the Dynamic Disc Open. I'm sorry, the Dynamic... Yeah. No. Wow, I did it to myself. The Discmania Challenge, not Dynamic Disc Open. I'm a genius, folks. It's a long episode. Thank you for being here still. We haven't done an episode this long in a while. So the Discmania Challenge for Pickard Park, I think is a really solid top to bottom course. I don't have too many issues with most of the holes. The course to me is never electric, but it's never bad. I really, really enjoy watching Pickard Park. At 11 is Crokle, one of the most beautiful courses on the planet. That hole number 1 is just gorgeous, and I'm trying very hard to just forget about the hole 18 playoff. That I won't let that force the course to come down. It's one of the best courses on the planet for a reason. Love Crokle. Next up is another European course. That's the Ale Disc Golf Center, which I believe is number 2 in the world. I think it is just overall, pound for pound, a better course than Crokle. To watch, it's more enjoyable. I really like it. I think Crokle and Ale are kind of, you can pick your poison as to which one those spots can flip around. Now we're inside the top 10. Number 9 is going to be the other side of the GMC course set, and that's Fox Run Meadows. This one to me, while for a lot of people may feel like, well, this is just the same as Brewster Ridge, they're not that entertaining courses. There's a bit of nostalgia with Fox Run Meadows. It's the first World Championships that I ever was really, truly engrossed in watching, and that was the year that Greg Barsby won it. I think the finishing stretch is great on this course. I enjoy Fox Run Meadows a lot. I'm going to be hoping at some point here in the next year or so to get up there and play both Brewster and Fox Run. But Fox Run is, I would say, the more entertaining of the two. At the number 8 spot is the best ball golf course that we have, and that is Glendoveer East. I'm sad we didn't get to see both Glendoveers this year, and that we're only going to get Glendoveer East going forward, but Glendoveer is a beautiful course. The height of the trees, the stunning fairways, the shots we get to see, it is impeccable. I am excited every year to tune in to watch Glendoveer East. Next up at number 7 is my second favorite European course, and that is Overos Disc Golf Park. This is where the PCS Challenge is at, where the PCS Open is at. It's the Nordic Gates of Valhalla. The theme they do there with the style of the course is so unique. It's a different kind of terrain. I love watching the PCS Open at Overos. Coming up at number 6 is, you could say debatable whether it should be on the list, is Hornets Nest. It was a match play championship. It was technically a Pro Tour event. So Hornets Nest, beautiful to watch. I was so excited this year. It takes me back to when the Tour Championship was there. Hornets Nest is very entertaining in my opinion. Coming up at number 5, a bit of a dark horse for some people, Bad Rock Creek. This is home of the Kansas City Wide Open. I think they killed it this year with their course. Incredibly fun to watch the way they use elevation change on the course, the whole design. It keeps people on their toes. I really enjoy this course. I cannot wait to see it back on the tour again next year. At number 4, we have Maple Hill. Of all the courses on this list, this is the one that I have played the most, and I think that's why I enjoy watching it so much, because I can put myself in the position on the course where the players are at. I can know what they're feeling, I can know what they're looking at, and I just enjoy that so much. I've played a lot of Maple Hill Diamond and Gold. It's such a great course, and I enjoy watching it. But there are 3 courses that stand on top of this list. Number 3 in the bronze position is Tampere Disc Golf Center. Maybe the hardest course in the world. So much fun to watch the pros struggle, strive, and get the job done. The only thing that, like, I know this is super nitpicky, the only thing for me that would make this course better and put it higher on the list would be hole 18. I don't like it as hole 18. Sorry, I just don't. I think it should be hole 17. I don't think it was hole 18. I've explained this before. The way they map the course, they could very easily make that hole 17, and they could bring in a tougher par 4 as the finishing hole. I think they could easily do it, and it would be better course, in my opinion, to watch. Number 2, another course in the conversation of hardest courses in the world, Northwood Black. Phenomenal course. Same thing. I love watching the players struggle and having to just strive to overcome the difficulty of the course. Hole 12, the mystical, magical hole 12. I've played Northwood Black. I love this course. It's so much fun to watch. But number 1 on the top of the list, and I know there's going to be some comments that, oh, Gary, yes, you do stuff with Foundation. Of course you're going to put this course at the top of the list. Or, oh, you just played it a bunch recently. Of course it's going to be top of the list. It's New London. I'm sorry. It's a great course, and it is so much fun to play. It's one of my favorite courses on the planet to play, and it's a lot of fun to watch. And here, I'll say this. It's not because of Foundation. All right, they play on the course a lot. I actually don't really enjoy watching Hunter and Trevor on New London as much as you think I would. I enjoy watching them on the other courses. But watching pros play New London and just carve that bad boy up, so entertaining. Especially now that there's a cell tower and we get good coverage. So that's it. That's my list. Holy smokes. It's been a super long episode. Thank you so much for those who stuck around to watch. You want some of your questions answered? If you watch this, you got to this point, you're like, Gary, I have questions, I have opinions, put them in the comments. Anytime I post a video or a short or a reel, if you want to know my opinion on something or have a question, put it in the comments. I'm going to start answering them on the episodes because this has been so much fun. But hey, listen, I'm not going to keep you any longer. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure you go check out our short form content over on the Understable Discourse accounts on YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, Facebook, and TikTok. And hey, leave a comment down below what you thought of the video. Do you want to see more videos like this in the future where fans get their questions answered? Also, while you're down there, hit that like button, punch that subscribe button right in the face. It's the best way you can help the future growth of this channel. That's been it for me. And until next time, make sure you're playing some disc golf, you're watching some disc golf. This has been Understable Discourse and the Chain Reaction.